Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Slasher Club, where there is no measure to terror and entertainment. Tonight, we will be doing a special Christmas special. Kind of everywhere except for Germany. And I know this may be, we're a bit late. Derek couldn't watch the movie until now. So, tonight we will be doing Black Christmas, the 1974 version, or as we like to call it, the original and better than that crappy reboot. And Derek will be giving you the synopsis in 3, 2, 1, now.
For this movie, we have a psychopathic man who somehow manages to sneak into the attic of a sorority house filled with a bunch of women, and these women start getting obscene phone calls from inside the house. And as time goes on, more of the girls start disappearing, and it gets to the point where they have the police involved.
Okay. It was directed by Bob Clark, produced by Bob Clark, written by A. Roy Moore, music by Carl Zittrer, cinematography by Reginald H. Morse. This was filmed at the University of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, which also known as the college. All Toronto, Ontario, Canada it's kind of an unknown location, but it's where the sorority house was. And then, last but not least, Community Center 55, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, which is the police station. And I was about to read what was 3 nights ago. We have Olivia Hussey as Jess Bradford, Keir Dullea as Peter Smythe, Margaret Kidder as Barb Cord, John Saxton from one of our favorite series here, sort of, Nightmare on Elm Street, who played Nancy's father. In this movie, he also plays a cop, basically. He plays Lieutenant Kenneth Fuller. We have Marion Weldman as Miss McHenry. Oh, God. Andrea Martin as Phil Carlson. James Edmond as Mr. Harrison. We have Douglas Doug McGruff as Sergeant Nash. Arthur Art Hindle as Chris Hayden. Lynn Griffin as Claire Harrison. Michael Paport as Patrick Cornell. Leslie Les Carlson as Bill Graham. We have Martha Gibson as Mr. Quaife. John Reuter as Laughing Detective. Great. Dave Clement as Cogan. Julian Reed as Officer Jennings. Bob Clark as Billy's Shadow. And Nick Mancuso as Billy and Phone Voice. And onto the gore score.
For this gore score, we have a total of 7 deaths, some off screen. We have the Claire being choked by plastic, the sorority mother being hooked, a dead girl found at the park, Barb being skewered with a figurine unicorn, Phil being killed off screen and set next to Barb, a cop being killed in his car, and Peter being skewered by Jess.
So, how many deaths is that again?
A total of 7.
Okay. Interesting for something that took place before Halloween. Huh. On to the favorite kills, which for me had to be Barb dies by unicorn. And this funny thing is, this reminds me of an episode I just watched a while ago, from DC's Legends of Tomorrow, where they go back in time, or John Constantine goes back in time to try and save his ex, or his dead ex, and tries to... Well, he kind of succeeds in saving him, and they go through multiple timelines, including one where Emma, I want to say it's Emma, gets impaled by a unicorn's horn at... what was that event years ago in the 60s?
What are you talking about?
The concert that Hendrix was at.
I'm not sure.
Oh, shit. Can't remember. Flower Fest or something like that? You know what, I'm drawing a blank, but let's move on. So, basically, I remember that episode, and kinda, that made this more funny. Oh, Woodstock! That's what it was. It was Woodstock. She gets impaled at Woodstock in the 60s, but here, this woman, it's funny because she gets impaled by a glass figurine in the 70s, like a year later on from when Woodstock happened in that episode, and it's just the slow motion as we watch her bleed out, and just how many times Billy stabs her with the glass unicorn, the creepy-ass, singer music, carolers, Christmas carolers music in the background. It just makes it so creepy as they're singing Silent Night, and then her smashing the other glass figurines. It's just, you now know she's dead, and it was gruesome, especially after we see it later on in the movie. We see her bloody remains just all over the bed, and bravo, just bravo. What about you?
My favorite kill has got to be the sorority mother being hooked by Billy as she's peeking through the attic. As soon as she got hooked, as she's screaming, she's being pulled in from the bottom, her legs being kicking. It just seems so funny to me, seeing her kick like that helplessly as she got pulled in.
I mean, yeah, but you barely see anything of it. They literally go off screen. I mean, we don't even see what exactly happened or any gore when we do see her at the very end of the movie when we go back to the attic, which I will come back to that because I really enjoy that. But just no theatrics like they did with the unicorns, or like when we saw Peter dead. Here, we don't see any blood. We just see her get yanked up. I don't know. I just found it boring.
Well, I found it intriguing in a way.
Which, again, look at that. It's my least favorite kill. And you?
My least favorite kill had to be seeing the cop get killed in his car.
Go on.
It was just off screen. It barely looked like like he had a laceration on him. He looked more so like he had fainted rather than died.
Yet there is blood, but I can get it. I mean, even we saw in Halloween, and that was, I believe, the same year we got to see Annie get choked to death. We at least saw it happen. Here, it's just, it looks like someone painted all over his neck with red paint.
That's what makes it my least favorite. It doesn't even look real. You can tell that it's fake.
Right. On to the facts. It was originally supposed to be called Stop Me. They didn't really even give much of an example on why they called it Stop Me. I just know it was called Stop Me. It was based on the babysitter and the man in the upstairs, which is a huge part of many other movies, like When a Stranger Calls, or I believe it was also an inspiration a bit for Halloween. God. Honestly, I haven't seen that many movies based on that urban legend, but I do know they exist. It was also inspired by some murders that happened at Westmount, Montreal during the winter season. There was a budget of $620,000, box office of $4 million. Menk also stated that he would stand on his head during recording sessions so his voice would sound more demented, which, I mean, that is the weirdest way to get it to happen, but I can understand. I mean, his reason was because it would put more pressure on his thorax and just make him sound a lot scarier. I mean, it obviously worked.
I don't know if you've noticed, but during the first obscene phone call, we hear the very vulgar word numerous times during that phone call.
Don't feel I understand what you mean by vulgar word.
Well, if I say the word, I'm sure we'll have to beep it out.
Right. This was Elvis Presley's favorite horror movie. I mean, I even read this is the one movie he'd make it a point to watch it every Christmas, at least once, and kind of surprising since he died 3 years later after this came out.
So, we have Krampus, Elvis had Black Christmas.
Exactly. Well, for the last 3 years of his life, but yeah. And I can see why the king would like it. I mean, again, it was one of the first major seasonal horror movies. For a short time, the name was actually changed to Silent Night, Evil Night. Yeah.
Reminds me of the Silent Night video game.
That, or we also have the Silent Night, Deadly Night series, which we might do next year, but I'm kind of dreading it.
I've been dreading the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series. You really want to put me through that one?
Yeah, we have to finish it, but really, you'd rather go see Garbage Day?
No, I would not.
Exactly. Thank God they changed this name. Peter was originally offered to Malcolm McDowell, who, I believe, Malcolm McDowell played, Loomis in the, yeah, he played played Loomis in the Rob Zombie movies. Look at that. He almost played the somewhat villain of the original seasonal slasher movie, but then he got stuck playing Loomis in a reboot. Seems like he didn't go that far. He actually went down. We have Lieutenant Fuller was originally supposed to be played by Edmund O'Brien. This was the first seasonal horror film. It happened right before Halloween, and after Halloween it moved on to like Mother's Day, I guess you could claim Leprechaun 3 as St. Patrick's Day horror. My Bloody Valentine, the
I might have
original.
to check that one out.
We should. Trick or Treat. God, what was that? What was that one I'm thinking of? April Fool's Day. Which we may...
Reviewing April Fools?
Sadly, no.
Damn.
We're doing one of the Child's Play... I think we're doing one of the Child's... No, wait, we're doing Saw. One of the Saw movies that day.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
But Gilda Raymer was supposed to play Phyllis Carlson, I'm sorry, and Betty Davis was supposed to play Miss Mac. Wow. We could have had a better actor for those. So I guess on to the opinions. Would you like to go first?
Absolutely. One thing that I would like to point out about this movie was I did not like the obnoxious breathing every time we got to Billy's point of view.
Huh.
I absolutely found it annoying, it was boring, and it made things more tedious the slower he walked and the more you heard that breathing. I just found, overall, I thought the point of view I thought seeing it from Billy's point of view was okay. It's just the breathing killed me. And there were some unlikable characters, like Barb, playing the slutty drunk of the sorority sisters. And then you got the sorority mom, who also has a drinking problem.
Well, it seems it kind of tried to do what Friday the 13th did better in its first movie. The rule of anyone who's drunk or had sex dies first, or at least dies. But I can see where you're coming from. I mean, we also have to look at this was one of the original horror movies, so they were still working out those bugs, but yeah, I can see it. For me, I didn't feel it was too bad. I mean, it had amazing camera shots, like, here we go, at the end, just the pan and point of view shot as we go around from where the final girl is sleeping to out to the hall, pan through and watch the other rooms where our victims have died, and then we slowly turn over to the attic door and just start climbing up the stairs, and we get a really good look at Carol and Miss Mac as we finally get to see what the hell happened to them, and it's just, in the least, saying? It's creepy as hell, especially with the music that's going off in the background, but love that scene the most, but I mean, I'm kind of glad that Bob Clark didn't listen to Universal when they told him to make Peter basically the killer instead of just keeping it a bit ambiguous. I'm completely glad that they didn't just go off and say, oh, it's Peter, he did it, end of story. No! What they did was, they tried to frame Peter, but turns out we all know it wasn't him because he was around for a few of the calls, but then it goes off and just the ringing of the phone in the end where no one's answered it. We know the final girl, Jess, is asleep in bed, or honestly, we don't know if she's dead or alive, or if she dies. Honestly, they left the movie, or the ending, for the viewers to figure out what they think would happen. Give it kind of a, what's my point of view gonna be? Did she die? Did she live? Was Billy caught? We'll never know. And not even the creators knew.
I love movies that do that.
And this one did it very well. I mean, yeah, again, we've got some bad characters. We didn't really have much development for most of them, except for Jess and Peter. I mean, Peter's an asshole. Jess is a pregnant girl who's with Peter, and she basically wants to live her life and get an abortion and just continue with where she's coming from. Peter doesn't want her to get an abortion. I mean, we get more story out of them than the two that went to the charity to be Santa Claus and help out at the fraternity, and the two that end up dying, the drunk and the other girl. I mean, my main problem with this movie is they should have tried to give more development, but again, this is 1974, and they didn't really try and change much from the 2006 reboot, which we may do someday, or definitely will do someday. The main problem is, it was just a shot through shot of the original movie, just with different characters. But honestly, for the first holiday horror movie, I'd have to give it a 8. 8 out of 10.
I've got one thing to complain about. The first girl that's killed off, I wish they hadn't killed her off so quickly, because I wanted to see more development out of her. But at the same time, I could understand why they killed her off, seeing as she was supposed to go with her father for Christmas, and that's when we start going to the police to figure out the mystery.
Yeah, and same with that little girl who just ends up in the woods. We don't know how, we don't know why. But, again, 8. What about you?
I'd have to give it a solid 7.
I can accept that. Don't forget, guys, next week we will be doing Child's Play 2. Ooh, and after that, Child's Play 3 up until up until close to the middle of January. Until then, stick around, continue watching with us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, slam that notification bell so you can keep up with our activities on this channel. And remember, stay spooky. Any final words, Derek?
Check more than that before you sleep at night.
Right. So, good night, try. And remember, anyone could be Billy. You'll just never know.